Let's get on to WTF.
Excuse me, what the?
Hey, yo, what the? What? What the? What the?
Whiskey?
Tango.
This is kind of a combo WTF adulting mishmash, Leon, but I thought it would affect us because we're going to start running into these kids more and more. There's all kinds of stuff in the news about how Gen Zers can't hold a job. They want to be hustlers. They want to be gig workers. They want to do their own thing. They want to pursue work-life balance. No problem. If you go back and you listen to some of the episodes we did in 2020 where we talked about work-life balance under lockdown and what it was like to work versus enjoy life, there's some echoes of that when these kids are taking it to heart. Unfortunately, they're not doing their own thing. They're still kind of mooching off mom and dad. Now, there are a number of different scenarios, of course, cost of living, no matter depending on where you live. But it basically comes down to the single solitary fact we got from Fortune magazine. Half of parents are paying their Gen Z and millennial adult children about $1,400 a month, but they plan to pull the plug in the next 2 years because it's eating into their retirement. Millennials may be pushing 40 now, but their parents are still shelling out to help them stay afloat. About 50% of parents financially support at least one of their children, adult children, over the age of 18, according to a recent report from savings.com.
I believe it.
Working age Gen Zers receive the most at an average of $1,800 monthly, while millennials get about $800. This spending has reached a 3-year high as inflation has put financial strain on workers of all ages. Gen Z are getting paid handsomely by their parents because their early career and have yet to establish livable income streams, the report notes, whereas millennials aged 29 to 44 are further along with more economic prowess. While about 92% of adult Gen Zers are working full-time, a stable salary isn't enough to keep up with the rising costs of living. Mom and dad are stepping in, but they've got financial woes of their own, and they won't be forking over cash for much longer. How parents are supporting their adult Gen Z children. Mostly groceries. Groceries have become a luxury for young people as being able to afford the basics is getting harder, so parents are picking up the bill for their oat milk and pizza rolls. Parents contribute a monthly average of $220 toward their adult child's grocery expenses, according to the report. About 87% of those supporting Gen Z children give money for groceries and food, 73% spend money on their cell phone bills, 69% contribute towards their health insurance. With skyrocketing housing prices, 66% are also stepping up to pay their Gen Z child's rent or mortgage, and to no one's surprise, they're covering education. 57% of parents fork over money for their Gen Z adult kids' tuition. While parents are doing their best to protect their adult children from financial headwinds, they may be shooting themselves in the foot. Working parents spend 2.3 times more on their adult children than on their own retirement accounts each month, shelling out $1,500 on average on their child while only putting $600 into retirement savings. About 47% of parents say they have sacrificed their own financial security for the sake of their adult children, according to the report. 4 in 10 say they felt pressure to support them, even when it meant foregoing their own financial comfort. And nearly all, 9 in 10, would make one or more additional wealth sacrifices to help their working age kids. However, parents can only be stretched so thin before the cracks start to appear. Now Gen Z and millennial adults supported by their parents are on the cusp of being left to fend for themselves. What do you think so far, Leah?
I think it's absolutely true. I know many cases of this, and I know I couldn't be maybe I don't think I'd be where I am at this present time in life. I'd get here eventually. I definitely had a lot of help from my family when it was necessary, in a chunk here and a chunk there every once in a while as I was growing up. But at some point, you gotta claw your own way. I get it. I've heard all the arguments for the younger generation coming up, and they do. They get a really shitty deal when it comes to trying to buy a house today is almost impossible for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of the jobs are pretty hard for them. And they were told, you work hard, you go to college, you come out, you're going to be successful. There's always the missing piece. And in this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to be better than the guy next to you. That's life, always has been. If you're a guy who digs out coal out of a mine and you want to go move up in the world, you better be the best at getting coal out of the mine. If you are somebody that if you're an accountant, you better be the best accountant. You have to beat the person next to you. That's always been life. You have to be aggressive. I think that generation, and I can be corrected, but this is just something I've thought. I've not read this anywhere. That's just my own observation. There is a lack of competition, and there is there is a there's almost like a new reward for a certain group of people that we need to do it together, and your pain is my pain, and and I do agree that communities have to work together. And I know I'm butchering my thought track here, but at the end of the day, your country, wherever you live, is always going to be better, stronger when people are competitive to get better. When you are, if there's anything in your DNA that makes you throttle down, that this is good enough, that's when this kind of settling in happens. So when you see the Gen Z as they're calling out here, but it could be anyone, and they were given this promise that if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll be successful without the addition of you got to do X, Y, Z, and you got to do it better than the person next to you if you want to be successful. That part was missing, and I think they're all feeling it now, and it will only get worse. And a lot of the jobs that used to be livable wage, manual labor ish, I'm talking about like factory jobs. That was a thing. Like it wasn't great, but you weren't going to have a mansion, but you had a livable wage and you could put food on the table and be proud of what you did. That was that was possible. Those jobs are kind of going away. And at the top end, like the jobs where people were creative writers or technical writers or people that did repetitive tasks, those are going away too. Because if automation doesn't take it, robotics will. So it's forcing people to be innovative. And I think in a lot of ways, that isn't what they were trained to do coming up through school. And it really handicaps them. That's what I think is making them struggle. You need to be innovative. And some of them are. And it's as frustrating it is to my generation, it's still innovative when people are walking in a straight line across a country and getting YouTube hits and making revenue off of it. It's kind of weird and silly, but it's innovative and it's different
It is out of
and
the
it's
box.
it's
Sure.
it's generating something. The 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 thing I will ask anybody who is looking for a job, who wants to be successful, who wants to be an entrepreneur or just a ditch digger, whatever you want to do, it's what makes you valuable in whatever you're trying to do, because ultimately that's how you get paid. And and then there's the next step. Once you know that you're valuable, how do you make sure you're getting paid for the value that you're worth? And maybe it's not necessarily in your own box. There is a very small clip from of all people 50 Cent.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Yeah, smart water.
Yes, it's very wise. He talks about, I just bought a bottle of water for $1. And then I went to the airport and I bought the same bottle of water for $4. And then on the airplane, I bought that bottle for $8. And people who are complaining that they're only getting paid $1, maybe it's not that you're water, it's the location you're in. Are you actually doing what you should be doing, where you should be doing it to get the most value for what you think you're worth, or what you feel you should be worth? You can't force somebody in a grocery store where water's readily available to pay $8 for the bottle of water because you feel like it. It should be worth that. So I think there's a I know I got really philosophical on the question you asked,
You
but
went there.
I think that there is, and I really do feel bad for this generation that's supported by their parents because of promises that were made to them and the direction they were told to go. And when they finished checking all the boxes they were asked to check, there's nothing for them at the end because there's a big problem, which is everybody to your left and right just check the same boxes. So now what makes you valuable? That's how I feel.
I like it. You squeezed a loathe in the middle of a segment. Well done.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I understand the concept of rent and education as those are fixed expenses. The part where I take a little bit of exception is groceries.
Hmm.
There is a wonderful opportunity in your youth to live on bologna and cereal and top ramen. And there's a funny meme that you'll see on the socials where you'll look at a whole rack of beer in the grocery store and you'll see a packet of bologna and decisions were made is the caption. That's because they chose to
Yeah.
get a case of beer instead of the bologna, and that was what they wanted to do with their time. And that led to decisions, which then led to consequences. And I think that's a part of youth. So the whole idea of assuming these kids are working full time, that means they are
Mhm.
making money. And so if the parents are paying for education, vehicle, rent, utilities, and groceries, what's left?
They
That's
have
just
more disposable income than I do.
that's just their going out and having fun money. I don't think you want that at that age. Now, philosophically speaking, youth is wasted on the young. I think that's Shakespeare, but that's fucking life. You know, I, you have you have time and energy and no money when you're young. You have energy and money and no time when you're middle aged. And you have time and money but no energy when you're old. That is the
Oh, I like
cruel,
that.
that is the cruel cycle of life. So if you want to
Hmm.
sit around and say, no, no, I have time, energy, and money when I'm young, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah,
Or
and
perhaps you're doing a disservice to your kids. So I kind of want to go, bootstrap kiddos, be innovative, start something new, good for you. But yeah, it's part of
well,
that youth. There needs to be some adversity. There needs to be a little bit of, for lack of a better word,
what
suffering.
you nailed it. Nobody excels when everything's going right. You excel when things are going wrong. You excel when you're hungry. You excel when you're broke. You excel when you don't like your surroundings, and that's what pushes you to be better. And I think you nail. I love that three-way, uh, young, middle age, and elderly
It's a,
retired
it's a,
statement.
it's
It's
good, fast,
beautiful.
cheap, pick
It's
any
like
team.
exactly true. It's exactly, yeah, good, fast, cheap, exactly.
Yeah,
You can
pick
only
any
have
team.
two. So
So your time in life, like right now, the time we're going through, for most of those Bobs out there that are sharing this journey with us, we have energy and we have money, but we do not have any time. We're in our
mhm.
earning years, we're working, and we're raising children. Therefore, we do not have a chance to spend the money that we're earning. And then eventually, as we get older, we'll end up getting that time back, but at the expense of our energy.
Mhm.
And that's just the cycle of life. All the world's a stage. We are but merely players. That's another quote from Shakespeare. So I'm,
Where do you draw the line though, as a parent? Because a lot of this is about
I
parenting.
want them. I want so this. I'm gonna quote Buffett on this one. I want to have so much money that my kids can do anything. I
Hmm.
don't want to have so much money that they can do nothing.
Okay.
So if they want to go try something, you want to go be an actor, wonderful. I wanted to be an actor. Leon wanted to be an actor. Go be an actor. If it fails, great, come back. Recuperate, go do something else. You want to go be a lawyer? Good. Go to law school, be a lawyer. You don't like it? Great, come back. What do you want to do now? You want to be a veterinarian? Good. Go be a veterinarian. I want to be able to give them the opportunity to try and strive, but I don't want to give them the opportunity to sit back and say, I'm just going to go to the bar tonight because my parents are going to pick up everything. And when I go and buy groceries at the store, that credit card bill never comes to me. I kind of have a bit of an issue with that part. And I know I'm splitting hairs here, but rent is a fixed cost that I understand picking up. A variable cost like the power bill, turn the fucking lights off or pay.
That's interesting. I'll meet you halfway on some of that. I think that I would like to support uh, my daughter as well on whatever she's interested in. But I would take it a step farther and say it's got to be more than interest. It's got to be closer to passion because what happens is you can't finance fail fast because you're this everything this article is about. You're going to go broke.
Yep.
And if things aren't going your way, then you just drop it. That's not going to work because I promise you things are going to not go your way. That's the whole point. It's figuring out what does work and doesn't work, and that's what makes you a better contributor to the society. You have to know what works and doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I I think there would be a limit on how many things you're allowed to try.
Yeah,
um,
I think
and I will support that.
that is absolutely worthy of discussion. I want them to make decisions that have consequences. So if you decide to go out and go on a bender with your friends and you had a ball and it was an awesome party and you wake up with no food and nothing in the fridge and you have no money, you're going to starve because that party was awesome. But I will never let a landlord throw you out, and I will never worry about your health insurance, and I will never worry about you getting kicked out of school unless it's for bad grades, which again is your decision. So, where I'm thinking of drawing the lines with my kid is providing some kind of a safety net that you have to fall into. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You know,
but it's
there's
got
a
to
net
hurt.
there. There's a net there, but you're going to fall and you're going to feel the fall.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
So the article continues. How will Gen Z cope when the bank of mom and dad shuts down? Gen Z and millennials may be enjoying a financial boost now, but give it time. Mom and dad's bank transfers may run dry in the short term, but young workers are positioned to come out on the other side stronger. About 37% of parents plan to stop providing financial support to their adult children within the next 2 years, and another 28% will freeze their aid in 3 to 4. According to the report, it's noted that their primary motive is to encourage their financial independence. But as a recession looms in the US, the report says stopping payments before an economic downturn can be a blow to younger generations. Gen Z might,
What age does it stop though? What age does it stop? How old are you where you're like you're freeloader?
they don't seem to say that. Millennial to Gen Z is anywhere from 13 to 40. So
Yeah,
when you
that's
lump
rough.
together Gen Z and millennials, like as far as I know, millennials are 28 to 40, and Gen Z are 13 to 27 right now.
Hmm.
Generation Alpha started in 2012, to the best of my knowledge. So these are kids that span a wide range of ages.
Man, I think that if you're in your 30s, if you've crossed the 30 barrier and you haven't figured out what you're doing or what you're going to do, I don't know. I might let you get evicted. I'm sorry, you're 30 years old. Like you're a grown ass person. I mean, if it's a one-off situation where you worked for 5 or 6 years and this happened, sure, I'll help you out. But if you're on your like sixth opportunity and you can't make it work in your 30s, I mean, this isn't Step Brothers situation here. You're not
Yeah,
touching my boat.
and don't cry for these kids. So later on in the article, it says by 2035, according to a recent report by Bank of America, in the next decade, Gen Z will swell to 30% of the global population, and by 2040, Gen Z will have accumulated $74 trillion in income.
Mhm.
As a generation, they're going to do fine, on top of the fact that when the boomers start dying off, that wealth has to go somewhere. That's all going to get transferred through inheritance. So younger millennials and Gen Z are going to be the largest wealth transfer possibly in the history of the country. About $84 trillion is anticipated to pass down from seniors and boomers to Gen X, millennial, and Gen Z by 2045. So within 20 years, you're going to see the majority of that boomer wealth make its way via inheritance and other vehicles down to these kids. So why are they comfortable now, knowing what kind of windfall's coming? And the other side, which we didn't even touch on, is if you're looting your retirement fund to pay for your kids and then you get in dire straits, are they going to want to take care of you if they've become used to being taken care of?
No.
Food for thought. Anyway, that was our adulting WTF loathe all in one.
This place is dead anyway, man.